Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're diving into something super interesting. 10 cities in Ohio. That's changing, becoming slower, and forgotten by everyone. And trust me, you'll absolutely love watching it until the very end, because the last city on our list is seriously surprising. It's Ohio, the 7th most populous state in the US. From the outside, it looks like it's doing great. Even though the population grew a bit, there's more to the story. At the core of Ohio, there's a group of 10 cities slowly becoming quiet, empty and almost unrecognizable. These cities have lost more than half of their population, with empty houses, crumbling foundations, overgrown grass, and quiet streets that almost echo your steps. Today we'll take a closer look at these rapidly empty cities in Ohio and find out what industries, systems, and people are still trying to make it through. So we're starting with, you guessed it, the city that was previously the 5th largest in the US. Number 10, Cleveland. There was a time when the buzz of life in Cleveland seemed endless. Lake Erie like a vast ocean, Rockefeller's oil, the shine of steel, and smoke rising from factories. Everything combined to make this city America's growth machine. Population in 1950, 915,000. Population in 2020, just 372,000. It's not just numbers that changed. Neighborhoods, streets, and houses disappeared. Between 2007 and 2014, thousands of abandoned homes were torn down. Entire blocks turned into open green fields. Fields where children once laughed and porches welcomed families. Now a lone fire hydrant often stands in the middle, like a guardian of a fading memory. Yet even in these empty streets, small sparks of life sometimes appear. A young person returns, opens a tiny cafe, or sets up a studio in an old brick building. These small lights carry a simple message for Cleveland. The story isn't over, it's just taking a new shape. Downtown is coming back to life with new apartments and weekend events. But some streets still ask the hard question: should these empty spaces be rebuilt or left as reminders of the past? And if Cleveland's silence feels heavy, the next city in our journey makes this story even darker. Number 9, Youngstown. This is a city whose name immediately brings one word to mind: vanishing city. In 1930, about 170,000 people lived here, most of them connected to the steel mills. Then came Black Monday 1977, the Youngstown Sheet and Tube Company suddenly announced the closure of a major plant. 5,000 jobs vanished in a single day. One plant after another shut down, and the city slowly began losing its foundation. Today, the population is around 60,000, meaning more than 2/3 of its residents are gone. Houses have been torn down, entire blocks turned into grassy fields. Yet a retired steelworker still sits on his old wooden porch every evening, remembering the days spent amid the roaring furnaces. Furnaces that now exist only in memory. Youngstown chose a unique path. Planning for a smaller city, compact, smarter, and easier to manage. Is shrinking really a failure? Or is accepting reality the true courage? The answer is still being written. Number 8, East Cleveland. Right next to Cleveland lies a city that feels like a crack running through a pane of glass. In 1950, it was one of the wealthiest suburbs. Over 40,000 residents, rows of beautiful homes, clean streets, and a community that seemed unshakable. Then the 60s and 70s brought everything crashing down. White flight, blockbusting, and a rapidly declining economic base. All of it hollowed out a once thriving city from within. Income dropped, the tax base collapsed, hospitals closed, jobs disappeared, and eventually the population dwindled to just 13,000. Today its streets show a strange duality. Every few houses, a boarded-up window, a collapsed house replaced by an empty lot, and in between, a few families who have decided to stay no matter what. A mother walks her child to school every morning, passing by abandoned homes through what feels like private gardens. And in the evening, she meets neighbors she's known since childhood. East Cleveland today raises a hard question. Should it be merged into Cleveland? Or should it be allowed to stand alone and rise again, despite its broken identity? Number 7, Portsmouth. Nestled on a bend of the Ohio River, Portsmouth was once a bustling riverside city. At its peak, it had a population of 42,000 and a thriving industrial hub. Then time began to change its course. The canal system became obsolete. Railroads and highways rerouted trade. And slowly, the steel industry weakened. In 1980, the steel plant shut down. 200 jobs vanished in an instant. Other industries gradually went quiet. and the city's population dropped to less than half. Today, Portsmouth tries to keep its past alive with colorful murals and riverfront festivals. But behind the festive lights, empty lots and shuttered buildings still linger. And the same hard question returns. When a city loses its main industry, can people find a way to start over? Number 6. East Liverpool. Once known as the pottery capital of America, East Liverpool was famous for its massive kilns, bustling factories and thousands of hardworking laborers. Plates, bowls, tiles, and decorative ceramics. Products from this city traveled all across the United States, finding their way into homes, restaurants, and hotels. The city was alive with the rhythm of industry, the clanging of kilns, the hum of production lines, and the constant movement of workers. But after the 1960s, the city began to change, slowly, quietly. Cheap imports from abroad, new technologies, and production moving overseas ate away at East Liverpool's industry. Factories that had once been the heart of the city now fell silent. The streets near these plants emptied, and the bustling neighborhoods began to fade. Today, fewer than 10,000 people live in East Liverpool. Walk down the streets near the old factories, and you'll see boarded-up windows, abandoned houses, and chimneys that no longer smoke. The quiet feels almost tangible, as if time itself has slowed here. Yet, the city has not completely given up on its story. East Liverpool now leans on its heritage, trying to turn history into a new kind of life. A pottery museum that celebrates its past, an annual pottery festival, where visitors come to admire the craft and remember the glory days. Small galleries and workshops breathing life into old factory spaces. But even with these efforts, the question lingers. Can memories and museums alone build a city's future? Or is the soul of East Liverpool tied deeply to the clanging kilns and busy streets of the past? Some streets seem almost frozen in time, one block alive with activity, and just a few steps away, empty lots and cracked sidewalks whisper stories of families that once lived here. And yet, amid the silence, a few residents still carry the city's heartbeat. The baker who opens at dawn, the artist painting in a renovated factory, the old neighbors who remember the roar of the kilns. They are East Liverpool's quiet resistance. East Liverpool is a city of contrasts. Heritage and decay, memory and emptiness, hope and loss, all side by side. And as you walk through its streets, it leaves one thought lingering. Can a city truly rise again when its very foundation has been hollowed out by time and change? Number 5. Dayton. Dayton was once the epicenter of innovation, a city where aviation, research, auto parts, and Wright-Patterson Air Force Base created a thriving economic hub. In 1960, over 260,000 people called Dayton home. By 2020, that number had dropped by half. Industries shrank, suburbs expanded, and people gradually moved away from the city center. The streets that were once filled with factory workers and bustling markets grew quieter, and some neighborhoods began to feel like echoes of the past. But Dayton's story is far from over. A new kind of population is slowly returning to the city. IT professionals, healthcare staff, and young entrepreneurs are choosing to live downtown, bringing life back to areas that were once abandoned. Old industrial buildings are being transformed into co-working spaces, studios and community centers. Empty lots are turning into community gardens, farmers markets and creative hubs. Even a single street can feel like two worlds coexisting. One block alive with activity, the next almost completely empty, reminding everyone of the city's contrasting realities. Walk past a historic building downtown, and you might see a startup team brainstorming in a refurbished office. Cross a few streets, and you'll find boarded-up windows and silent houses, ghosts of a time when Dayton was booming. This city, built on innovation and invention, is slowly learning to balance its past and future. It's a place where history whispers from the bricks, yet new energy struggles to break through, and it raises a question Dayton has yet to answer. Can a city with such a proud past reinvent itself without losing the spirit that made it great? Dayton is a city caught between two worlds, the glory of yesterday and the promise of tomorrow, and every street, park, and building tells a story of loss, resilience, and hope. Number 4. Akron. Akron, once proudly called the rubber capital of the world, earned that title the hard way. In 1960, nearly 290,000 people lived here. The city breathed with the rhythm of Goodyear, Firestone, and General Tire, factories pumping life into every street, every neighborhood, and every family. The hum of machinery, the smell of rubber, and the steady flow of workers created a sense of purpose and pride. But as globalization picked up speed, cheaper labor, and new markets slowly began to pull production away from Akron, factories that had been the city's heartbeat either closed or were downsized, some turning into mere research centers. The city's population dropped by a third, leaving behind empty streets and silent neighborhoods. Today, universities, hospitals, and emerging tech companies have stepped in to support Akron's revival. But the echoes of the past remain. Walk down a street near the old factories and you'll see boarded-up windows, empty lots where factories once stood, faded signs of shops that thrived decades ago. The silence tells a story of glory, loss, and resilience. Akron is now at a crossroads. It faces a question that every shrinking city must confront. Should it cling to its old identity, defined by rubber and industry, or should it embrace a new future, finding a different purpose in a changing world? Every renovated building, every new business, and every community event is a small step toward reinvention. Yet the contrast is striking. Bustling university campuses sit just blocks away from empty streets and abandoned factory sites, a constant reminder of what once was. Akron's journey is far from over. It's a city learning to balance the pride of its past with the promise of a new identity, and every corner tells a story of struggle, hope, and the courage to redefine itself. Number 3, Warren. Nestled close to Youngstown, Warren was once a city built on the backbone of steel, auto plants, and blue-collar life. In 1970, about 63,000 people lived here. Streets were bustling with workers heading to factories, markets overflowed with shoppers, and parking lots were full every Friday evening. The city had a steady rhythm, paychecks coming in, families thriving, and the hum of industry defining daily life. Then the decline began. First, the steel industry started to falter. Then the famous GM Lordstown plant closed, wiping out thousands of jobs. Local businesses suffered, and families left in search of better opportunities. Over the decades, Warren's population shrank to around 39,000. Today, some streets in Warren are so empty they feel like islands of houses surrounded by grass, rubble, and empty lots. Entire blocks stand abandoned, the foundations of homes slowly being swallowed by weeds. Yet amid this quiet, life continues, sometimes in small, unexpected ways. A few residents refuse to leave. Some tend the empty lots next to their homes, mowing the grass, clearing debris, and planting small gardens. Their efforts aren't just about property, they're about keeping the neighborhood alive. In Warren, less can sometimes mean more care, fewer people but stronger community bonds. Neighbors know each other better than ever, sharing meals, tools, and stories that span decades. Every morning and evening, the city may seem quiet, but its heart beats quietly through these resilient few. Warren is a city of contrasts: empty streets and active gardens, silent blocks and living homes, loss and stubborn hope. It raises a question every shrinking city faces. Can a place rebuild itself when so much of its foundation has vanished? And yet, the determination of its residents shows that even in decline, community and spirit can survive. Number 2, Moonville, Ohio's ghost town. Moonville was once a small mining town born in the 1800s, a place where smoke from chimneys, the whistle of trains, and the voices of miners filled the air. Families lived close to the forests, the rail lines, and the mines, leading simple yet challenging lives. But slowly, quietly, the town began to disappear. Mines closed, railroads rerouted, and one by one the homes emptied. Unlike other cities that shrink gradually, Moonville didn't just lose people, it disappeared from everyday life. Its streets fell silent. Shops closed, chimneys stopped smoking. The echoes of footsteps faded into the wind. Today, what remains is almost hauntingly beautiful. A crumbling railway tunnel cutting through the hills, where the wind seems to pause as if listening. Rusted tracks disappearing into the forest. Overgrown foundations and empty lots that once held homes filled with laughter, work, and life. Visitors now come as hikers, explorers, and history enthusiasts drawn by the town's eerie aura. Standing in the middle of Moonville, it feels as if you're at the final page of a forgotten story, reading the last chapter written, not in words but in the silence of empty streets and abandoned structures. Moonville is a ghost town in every sense. The land remembers the lives that once moved here, even if the people are long gone. Shadows of the past linger, and some swear the whistling of trains and faint footsteps still echo at dusk. And yet, amid the silence, Moonville asks a profound question. Are towns kept alive by their people? Or can the stories, the history, and the memories of a place continue to breathe lifelong after its residents are gone? This tiny vanished town is proof that even in emptiness, a story can haunt, inspire, and teach. Every tunnel, every moss-covered brick, and every rusted track is a reminder that history has a voice, even where life has long departed. Moonville is not just a ghost town, it's a living memory, standing in quiet defiance against the erasure. Number 1. McGuffey. McGuffey was once a small yet vibrant mining and steel town, where every street pulsed with life. Children's laughter filled the schools, small businesses thrived, and the hum of the mines and factories was the heartbeat of the community. Families depended on the rhythm of daily labor. Weekends were for local fairs and baseball games, and the city had a strong sense of togetherness. But time, as it always does, had other plans. The mines slowly closed, leaving once bustling shafts silent. Factories, which had been the backbone of McGuffey, went dark one by one. Families moved away, searching for better opportunities, better schools, and more stable futures. Gradually, McGuffey began to fade from the map, not with a bang, but with the whisper of vanished footsteps. Today, McGuffey is a ghost town frozen in time. Empty homes line streets that were once alive with conversation. Schools stand abandoned, their windows staring like empty eyes. The old railroad track, once the lifeline connecting McGuffey to the wider world, lies quiet, its iron rails rusting, overgrown with weeds. Walking through McGuffey feels like stepping into a living memory. Every crumbling building, every overgrown lot, every silent street tells a story, not just of what was lost, but of the people who once lived, laughed, and worked here. Yet, amid the silence, there is something hauntingly beautiful. The town may be empty, but its history, its stories, and the echoes of its people still linger in the air. A single breeze through the trees, a bird landing on a broken fence post. These small moments bring the past back to life, if only for an instant. McGuffey asks a profound question that resonates far beyond Ohio. Do towns exist because of their people? Or can their stories, memories, and legacies continue to keep them alive even when life has moved on? This ghost town is more than abandoned buildings. It's a reminder of resilience, of passage, and of the fragile beauty of what we leave behind. Standing here, it feels like you're reading the final chapter of a forgotten story, where every silent street and every empty home is a line written in memory, echoing through time. McGuffey may no longer have residents, but it remains alive in a way that only history, memory, and mystery can preserve. And there you have it, the 10 cities of Ohio, each with its own story of rise, fall, and resilience. From the bustling streets of Cleveland to the ghostly silence of McGuffey, we've seen how industries, communities, and time shape the life of a city. Some streets are filled with lights and new energy. Some are silent witnesses to the past. Some towns are shrinking by choice, while others vanish quietly from memory. But in every single one, there's a story of people who refuse to give up, who remember, and who hold on, even if it's just a few families, a small cafe, or a lone workshop. These cities remind us that growth and decline are not just numbers. They are lives, dreams, and history stretched across streets and buildings. They are lessons in resilience, adaptation, and sometimes the quiet dignity of letting go. So the next time you walk past an empty lot, a boarded-up window, or a silent street, remember the stories that built it. Every city, even in its decline, carries a heartbeat, a reminder of the people who lived, worked, loved, and dreamed there. If this journey through Ohio's forgotten cities made you pause, wonder, or even feel inspired, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share your thoughts. Which city's story touched you the most? And remember, every city, no matter how small or quiet, has a story worth telling, and maybe even a future worth imagining. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, and keep exploring the hidden, the forgotten, and the extraordinary stories around us.